All right, folks, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please rise for Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I can ask for a moment of silence, please. Okay, thank you. I want to welcome everybody here who's in present, watching, or will see at a future date. I'm going to call the roll now, starting with Commissioner Doug Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Mike STIEBEN.
Here.
Commissioner Jeff CULBERTSON.
Here.
Commissioner VICKY KAAZ.
Here.
And Mike Smith, I am here. Public comment. I don't think there's anything that I was told there was. So I'll go to administrative business. And Mark, I'll start with you if you have anything before I ask any commissioners.
Commissioners, I sent an email this morning, but just to touch base on it as well, was notified yesterday by our representative at NACO that the Senate had passed legislation that would allow for more flexibility on the spending of the ARPA funds. So wanted to let you know that I did reach out to our Congressman Jake LaTurner and let him know that the county staff would be in support of that legislation, since the vote may come as early as this morning in the House. So it's a good thing. I believe we already have projects lined up that are county projects that would meet current eligibilities, but obviously if they're going to allow some more flexibility, we wouldn't say
And make it better, yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to let the board know that, and also that I had already reached out to LaTurner's office and said that we supported it. Just in case y'all didn't support that, I could retract that.
I think we do.
And that does mean roads?
Currently, what it would allow for, and again, it passed the Senate already, is that up to $10 million would be what they call revenue replacement without having to actually justify that you had a reduction in revenue. So that money would be available for governmental services, which would include roads, bridges, other infrastructure. And then the other language they're adding is that they're expanding it to actually include infrastructure that would be eligible under certain, normally eligible under certain grant programs of the federal government, and that would also include roads.
That sounds like a lot of money, but the way the inflation's going right now, it may not be a lot of money.
I think that, what they're looking at from an administrative standpoint, and they've already started pushing off deadlines, like we had reporting deadlines that were due at the end of this month, and they've already pushed those off to April of next year. I think what they're finding out is potentially at the federal level, the Treasury, when you're dealing with 2,000 counties in the country, plus all the states, plus the tribal entities, plus the entitled entities that were like the CDBG communities, when you have that many organizations reporting directly to you, administration of those reports might be problematic. So they're trying to reduce some of that complications, I think, for their own, to save themselves just as well as give us flexibility.
That makes sense. Okay, Mark, you got anything else?
That was the only thing that I had.
Councilmember, Commissioner, before we go on? Mike?
On the public hearing, we're going to have on the comprehensive plan, we're going to be having a work session with the commission, and then we're going to have a work session jointly with the
Planning Board.
Planning and Zoning Commission. As a component of the review of the comprehensive plan, I'd definitely like to see us have a way for us to, at some point to have a public hearing on whatever changes the public would like to submit, or and comments from the public at some point. I don't know if that should. It probably would be good if we did it both at the Planning Commission level and when it comes back to us.
Commissioner, any change to the comp plan, like when it was approved with a public hearing component, and any change would also be handled the same way. So the Planning Commission will have a public hearing on it, and I think that would be the appropriate place for that to happen. They'll know we don't notice the whole county, but we do open it up to public comment.
But are you saying you want the public to have a voice before we present?
Well, I just thought that there should be an avenue for the public if they have suggestions for changes for it to be submitted.
Commissioner, you could certainly invite the public to send in written comments and suggestions beginning now.
Right. And that's now, are you foreseeing like the public hearing would be before the Planning Commission, and then when the proposed changes came before us, would there be an additional public hearing at that time? Or would we just be deciding on what the recommendations were?
I wouldn't anticipate 2 public hearings. I think that you then are inviting maybe conflicting information, and you need the body, the Planning Commission, where it starts, you need them to hear the information before they send it out here. Ours will be held in a public meeting.
Where they could comment, but it wouldn't be the official.
But it's not a public hearing where we set aside like 2 hours for comment or anything. That the Planning Commission is where it starts. Well, it'll start here with our work session, then it'll be the joint work session. All those are open meetings; those aren't closed, so the public can definitely hear what is being the conversation being held and the direction that the Board of County Commissioners is starting with. For sure.
I agree with Mike, and I think if I hear Jeff right. I want input on this. I mean, I came on this after it had already been approved, and there's some concerns out there, and there's some of the same ones that commissioners up here have brought up. So any way we do it, when we do something like that, though, I would expect it'd probably be a pretty good turnout. Would we hold it here, or how would we go about that?
Well, Commissioner, when the comp plan was initially approved, they held a series of public hearings throughout the county. I don't
6 months.
I don't remember the
I
total
remember
count.
Lansing,
and in
yeah.
fact, we actually extended it. We added 2
All over
more
the
hearings
county.
because there were some people who weren't happy that we didn't have them in certain locations. So we added 2 hearings, even 2 public, the opportunity for the public to come in on 2 additional accounts. So that's how that was handled originally. I wasn't anticipating a similar process every year. I was thinking.
No, I didn't think that. I just want to make sure that people, and I know the county commissioners heard, folks know that we're listening to them. And so we have to do that with one setting, or however it works itself out. This is a time to look at a couple of those things that we've heard in front of us, and I've heard county commissioners bring up a couple of times, just to make sure they know that we're listening.
Yeah.
Right. And then
Right.
I'd encourage everybody to email the BOCC so we all get copies
Yeah.
on it, and then we'd
And
have
it started.
we would have emails to go through, and we could definitely discuss the emails during our work session.
And I think as the county councilors pointed out, we always encourage that comment to be provided in writing because it allows the whole board to not just hear it, but also have time to contemplate it before a meeting. Whereas if you show up at that meeting, it may be, kind of a last-minute presentation that you're giving, that you're expecting people to take in that information without having the chance to do any research on that. So definitely, we would encourage.
Mark, a lot of times we put the information out and people just don't see it, and that's no fault of the county or the employees. But John from the Times and other places, just so we let people know we're getting ready to do it, and like Commissioner Smith said, and the other commissioners, get those questions or things to us, but we want people to be involved. We don't want anybody to feel left out. So at the Leavenworth Times and our staff that puts out notices, the more notices we can put out, and once it comes to dates and stuff like that, I'll definitely share it in my district or wherever, that they know we are listening to them, because there are 2 or 3 items that have been brought up several times to all of us, and I think we just want to have a chance to review it.
Sure.
And I want to make sure that all the large landowners
Yeah.
in the county are notified some way, and, participate, because
Yeah.
it seems to be the small tracts are trying to tell the large tracts what to do.
And I know we can't go door to door, but if we could just rotate when that comes out, we start putting out, flooding the place with it, or anything I can do to help, and I'm sure the other county commissioners feel the same way, we could get it out to everybody. We want their input. We don't want to have to go back 3 months and say, hey, even though we review it every year or every 18 months, whatever the case may be. And I know I'm harping, Mark, on something that you're doing. Don't get me wrong. I just want to make sure that everyone knows we're trying to get to them so we can hear what they have to say.
And I think what I've picked up on from a lot of the comments, especially the last 3 weeks, has been that there's just a lot of people that don't realize what an impact that this document has on your use of your property. And we're going to be considering changes or modifications or at least reviewing it. So please weigh in. And that's all we can do here is ask them.
And I'm sure the staff will.
So.
Okay. Mike, do you have any?
I do. This, at our meeting on get the date right.
I think it was the 8th.
County Commission meeting that was held September 1st, we voted on a resolution dealing with a Fusilier boat storage located at 15829 174th Street. And the motion initially failed, but then it was sent back to Planning and Zoning. And the motion, when we sent it back, the motion, and I'll read the motion to you. A motion was made to return this back to the Planning Commission for them to review the golden factors that might support this SUP. So, and maybe we weren't specific enough. I thought the word support indicated that we were looking for golden factors that support. But when it actually went to the Planning and Zoning, I don't think maybe that got communicated as well. Maybe that's our fault. Maybe that's my fault not making the motion the way as specific as it should have been. But the unfortunate thing is that the Planning Commission, after I watched it, they basically said, well, we don't know why they sent it back. We don't have any idea, and we don't. And I think it was our intent for them to find golden factors that support this. This is a business that would store boats. There was no public objection. It's near and close proximity to other. It's close to Bonner. It's not far from Bonner Springs. It's in close proximity, and the boats would be out of the way, and they're only stored for part of the year. It just seems like a good fit, and all those boats would be registered in Leavenworth County. So I did visit with the county councilor about procedure to bring it back. I'm going to offer a motion to bring it back before us, and I don't know if we should. Is it appropriate for us to be able to go ahead and vote on it today, or would we need to wait a week?
Well, Commissioners, in as much as it's a special use permit, which is considered to be a rezoning under Kansas law, I would suggest to be made an agenda item.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we place it on the agenda for next week.
Just 1 second. I don't have Mark, were you aware of this?
So, Commissioners, like Commissioner Stieben said, that this was on the agenda for September 1st. It had already been to the Planning Commission, and they voted it down. Then it came to the Board of County Commissioners, and the County Commission supported the vote of the Planning Commission. 3-2, I believe, was the vote here. And then after we voted it down, I think Commissioner Stieben brought up that he would like it to go back to the Planning Commission for reconsideration. Yeah. I think even in that meeting, I said there's going to be confusing because we voted no here. The Board of County Commissioners voted no. They voted no. So having them then review it for approval after we voted it no seemed kind of confusing and that's basically what it was. After the board voted 3-2 no, to then send it back and ask them to find a way to support it, it just didn't work out very well as far as communication. So obviously the Board of County Commissioners can reconsider actions they've previously taken, but it still doesn't change that it was voted no prior to this.
Right.
So that's why you have it now. If you want to put it on the agenda and reconsider it, that's a board decision.
Okay. And I would so move that we bring it to the agenda for next week.
And I would second that.
Any more? I got a motion second. Any more comments on that? Vicky,
Yeah, I'd
go
like
ahead,
to comment on that. That was voted down 9-0.
I don't think they were all there.
I don't
was like
recall.
6-0.
It was
Right.
8-0 because a couple were missing.
Okay,
Yeah.
and
And I think part of
staff recommended no.
And I think that's why we asked to send it back to him, because we don't like going against what planning board says. So there was a lot of misinformation and missing information.
Right.
The owner wasn't there. I reached out to the owner after that to get some questions answered that we didn't have before. It's not open to the public. It's more like a laydown yard than a boat storage.
Okay.
He's going to go get the boats, bring them back. If there's 30 to 50 boats, then that's only 30 to 50 trips. There's not open business hours, daily traffic up and down the road. Like Mike said, you pay taxes on where the boat's at January 1. If $300 per boat, 50 boats, that's $15,000 will get paid to Leavenworth County. You're not adding much traffic to the road that's there. None of the neighbors protested. These are all questions that I didn't get answered before.
Yeah.
So I think the reason we kicked it back is because we don't like going against the planning's decision, so we were hoping they would get that information and reconsider.
Right. And I didn't watch the meeting, so I don't know if that was
It wasn't.
explained at the planning commission
It
meeting
wasn't.
or not.
Yeah, it wasn't.
But I understand, but I'm also confused that the planning commission passed staff recommended and the planning commission voted 9-0 to pass the 2.5 acre rezone on Dempsey Road and voted against it. So I'm confused.
Yeah. And I think
That's a separate issue, Doug.
Wait a second.
No, it's not.
I think that's why we were doing
Wait
the
just a
work
second.
session.
Wait just a second. Commissioner KAAZ, go ahead.
I'm not certain that that is the way that the sales tax or the tax laws existed right now. On where I'm not sure that that's the way that the legislature reads now for where the equipment sits.
David, any?
I believe that was changed this past year.
I'd have to look into that,
Right,
Commissioner.
okay.
I generally don't handle boat registrations.
Well,
I
it
believe
may
that
be-
law was changed this past year.
It may be good just to bring this back just to get it cleared up.
Right. And what Commissioner Culbertson explained, that wasn't explained to us.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
It made it sound like it was going to be a constant year-round
Yeah.
pull in and out
Yeah.
of this.
So that'll give us a week to check that out, too.
But
Yeah.
nevertheless, you know,
Okay.
So, and another thing that Doug is let you know, I'm meeting with the gentleman from Dempsey Road this afternoon at 2:00, and that's not a
you'll be putting that back on the agenda too.
well, I'm meeting with him, but there was specific reason why that was denied, and so but it is a separate issue.
Well, I just think we got to respect our planning and zoning staff and our planning and zoning commissioners who volunteer
I
their
agree.
time. And when something is 9-0 and staff recommended,
Yeah.
there's got to be some good
Well, I
reason.
agree.
I totally agree, and that's why I think he asked to send it back, because there was a lot of information that wasn't
Right.
presented, because the owner didn't even show up.
Yeah, just because we bring it
Right.
back doesn't mean that the outcome's going to be different.
And-
It's just that we needed information that I was a little confused
And
on.
I would hope the owner would show up
Yeah.
if we put it back on the agenda.
Yeah, and I agree with
Oh,
Doug.
yeah.
That's
Good
why.
point.
That's why I think these work sessions we have scheduled are going to be important, because, like I said, we don't like going against what the planning board decides.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think work sessions will help us all
And
get
I
on the
think,
same page.
Planning Commissioner Denny made a good comment the other night that's why these are special use permits, because they don't fit the zoning in that way. So
Okay,
No,
got
I
a
agree, but-
Okay, I'm sorry. Anything
go
else?
ahead. No, I'm fine.
Motion second. Commissioner KAAZ, you have anything else in this issue before I call the roll? Okay. Well, I'm going to start the roll call. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Commissioner Culbertson?
Aye.
Commissioner KAAZ?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. Okay. Mike, you've said enough. Do you have anything else?
Well, just a minute. Let me look at my
No,
notes
you're
here.
done. Doug, did you have anything for
No,
us?
sir.
Okay. Commissioner KAAZ, did you have anything under administrative business?
No, I don't.
Thank you. Commissioner Culbertson?
Nope.
Okay, and I don't. So we'll move on.
Chairman,
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
there is a matter I'd like to address to the board,
Okay.
and I apologize, I just left the dentist's chair, so I have proverbial fat lip. However, I am aware that you've received, I believe each of you have received numerous phone calls or emails, various communications regarding the Kaw Valley special use permit issue. What I'd like to do is possibly clarify the position of the board, and in particular, at least my counsel to you, given the fact that this matter was filed in district court. The district court denied the Kaw Valley appeal. Kaw Valley has filed a subsequent appeal into the Kansas Court of Appeals. That matter will wend its way through the court. It could take anywhere from 8 to 18 months for this matter to be resolved. In the interim, I would like to suggest that the board declare that the issue of the Kaw Valley special use permit is on hold. That is, that there will not be any additional negotiation with Kaw Valley regarding the terms of the special use permit as it was approved by this board in open session. It has been reviewed by the district court and held to be legally sufficient, and that the matter more or less be on hold until we have a decision from the Court of Appeals, which could either provide some illumination on the justification for the district court ruling or could change it. And at the time that the Court of Appeals renders its decision, you'll have the opportunity to consult with both myself, other legal counsel, and determine what's in the best interest of the county at that time. But that to conduct ongoing discussions, actions with respect to the special use permit, I think are counterproductive and not in the best interest of the legal interests of the county.
Okay.
So, and just one clarification, just for constituent questions. That would mean that until the disposition of the proceedings of the court, there will be no further negotiation on the development plan.
I've not been directed to conduct any such negotiation, and we can convey that message to Kaw Valley.
Thank you.
I think that's basically what he just said in legal terms. But, Mike.
Commissioner, I'll use this analogy. The arrow is in the air. Until that arrow lands, don't do anything.
Okay. I'm fine with that. Everybody okay with that? We don't need anything on that, do we, Mark? Okay. All righty. I'm just going to move on to consent agenda. Is there anything that needs to be pulled?
Yes, this is Commissioner KAAZ. I need to pull the check registry from the consent agenda, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the consent agenda minus the check registry.
I'll second it.
Motion and second. I'll call the roll. Commissioner Smith? Aye. Commissioner Stieben? Mr. KAAZ?
Aye.
Mr. Culbertson?
Aye.
And I'm aye. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the check registry section of the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
All right. Call the roll. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Stieben?
Aye.
Commissioner KAAZ?
Aye. Abstain.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Culbertson?
Aye.
And aye. Okay, very good. Okay, formal board action. Consider a motion to approve awarding bid for the first floor cushion remodel of the council and agent area to Sands Construction. Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. We had worked with ACI Bolin creating our plan. It had went out for bid. We had an extreme amount of interest. We had 11 general contractors end up bidding on it. The lowest qualified bidder happened to be a Leavenworth County company, Sands Construction. We met as a group looking over the bids, and as a group decided to recommend to the board Sands Construction. I've had ACI Bolin write up a contract which includes our performance bonds and other bonds as well, and they are ready to move forward with the project with your approval. The total cost estimate on the project from ACI Bolin before it started was a $2.8 million estimate from our architects. The winning low bid came in at $2,749,000. I would like, with this size of a project and the fact that the building is 5 separate additions, I would like a 10% contingency. I've asked County Councilor to review the contract that ACI Bolin had presented. He made adjustments to it, and we had sent it over for their approval as well. So the final step before we get started in construction is your approval of Sands Construction for this project.
What's the total plus the 10%? Do you have that number?
Give me 2 seconds. 2.6.
Because I'm going to actually, when he total amount of requests, that I'd like for that to be part of the motion
Okay.
if it goes
Not
out
to
there.
exceed.
Yes, sir.
I think if you made it a not to exceed amount of $3 million, that would include a sufficient.
Okay, not to exceed 3 million. Okay, any questions?
Ready for a motion?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the contract with Sands Construction for the Cushing remodel first floor for the amount not to exceed $3 million.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
We're within the, what you're on the ARP funding and the planning, we're well within what you were looking at with this.
Yes, we are.
Okay. I'll start the roll call. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Stieben?
Aye.
Mr. KAAZ?
Aye.
Mr. Culbertson?
Aye.
And aye. Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Glad to see that
Pre-con
moving along.
meeting Next week, get moving.
Great, that's good. Good news.
Thanks, Aaron.
Okay, item B.
Hello.
Good morning, Bill. Consider a motion to approve Resolution 2021-47, approving the gravel road dust control policy and the 2022 dust control request form. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Commissioners. Today, for your consideration, we do have the yearly resolution for the gravel road dust control policy. I'll highlight a couple specific points. In the past policy, we limited each location to 1,700 feet. We found that once you've mobilized to an area outside of your normal maintenance cycle, it would be adequate to do up to a half a mile without really overburdening the county staff. That would be the road department that needs to conduct these. And so we did increase that to 2,640 feet from an arbitrary 1,700. That allows a property owner who may have a large tract of land to cover their entire 80-acre parcel if they so wish to do so. It is still limited to 6 locations, and the pricing was set at a 10% increase approximately. I believe it was just a little bit less than that, but the cost of installation for 2022 would be $21.45 an hour, or not an hour, a linear foot.
You trying to hire somebody? Go ahead.
So we're trying to hire people. We're always trying to hire people. We do have 2 positions open currently. But, yes, it's a linear foot of roadway. Cost of maintenance is $4.10 for those that are non-connected to other hard surface roadways that the county does not do the maintenance on. If the board has any questions, we did not. That is a conservative number. That would be the low end of the overall cost of improving the roadway to the hard surface type. We did not intend to reimburse property owners at the end of this, so we chose a number that was conservative. And so the condition of the existing roadway is always a factor, and some roadways are going to need a little bit more prep work than others, but this is a good conservative number.
How many miles do we typically in a year do?
In this program?
Yeah.
It is a very successful program. We always have the full number of eligible 6 allocated locations. And so under this program, we can do up to 3 additional miles a year.
It's subsidized. You couldn't hire a contractor to come out and do what they do. So
That's what I was.
It's a good
deal. It's a good program, and if you lived on a gravel road and you was pretty close to a blacktop, you would.
Not.
Interest-free for 5 years, correct? We're still doing the interest-free for 5 years, so that's a big deal.
Yeah.
You just put it on your taxes, so.
And we get a lot of groups of individuals that come in, where that's another reason that we were looking at the 1,700 feet. We'll get 5 to 6 property owners. Last year, I think we even had one that was a 12 people who came in together. And so when they all then split the cost of that,
Makes sense.
you end up with couple larger dust patches. And so we didn't want to consider those. We want to consider that one location, not 12 individual locations if they were all contiguous.
You could sign up for 1,700 feet and get a little closer.
Yeah, a little closer.
Truck wouldn't be as dusty.
Well,
Okay.
I'm afraid I'm out of luck.
You ready for a motion?
Yeah, everybody okay with the question? Okay, go ahead, Jim.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, To approve Resolution 2021-47, approving the gravel road dust control policy and the 2022 dust control request form. Changes?
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions?
Just one question.
Go ahead, Doug.
Okay, say somebody plats a subdivision and and it's a mile off not a mile. Yeah, let's say it's a mile off the blacktop road. Could they do 1,700 feet, a couple, like every year to get to their subdivision?
Yes.
Okay. They can do that.
So this program can't be used to replace any required improvements as part of a subdivision. But yes, after the subdivision was in and running,
Then
operating,
you could hook it up.
you
Okay.
could definitely extend that road.
Good point.
Yeah. And it can't be used on internal streets in a subdivision. It has to be existing county road.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's all I had.
Good question. Any more questions? Okay, I'll start the roll call. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Stieben?
Aye.
Commissioner KAAZ?
Aye.
Commissioner Culbertson?
Aye.
And aye. Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. I like it. Okay, item 8, presentations and discussion items. Mark, before I go around the county commissioners, is there anything that you or David would like? Okay. Doug, I'll start with you.
I had the Bayshore City Council last week. They pulled the annexation of the 160 acres off, so I don't know when that's coming back. And I have a JCAB meeting this afternoon, too.
Very good. Thank you, Doug. Mike?
Well, attended the KAAZ meeting with a couple of my other commissioners, and I learned quite a bit. Learned about the difference between the constitutional home rule of the cities as opposed to statutory home rule of the county.
Counties, yeah.
And we had how long was that presentation?
Too long.
That's what Jeff told me later.
2 hours. But so we got a lot of good information, and we got some good information to give to the county administrator about some of the ARP fund distribution plans and some administrative things. But the other thing is I was able to, I met with George at Tonganoxie City Hall, and they have some new employees. I met when I went in there, the whole staff was there, and I got to visit with them for just a few minutes. But I updated George on where we're at on the ARP fund, those kind of things, and where they're at on the hills. And I did find Hills originally was $250 million investment in the county, and the re-estimate has come back. It's now $325 million investment in our county, by far the largest in the history of Leavenworth County. So that is really a big win for the county.
Yep.
Has inflation been that much since they've started?
It might have been. I don't know.
That may be the key to the answer to that. Anything else, Mike?
No, that's it.
Okay. Commissioner KAAZ, you have anything for the group?
Sure. I participated in the last week Community Development Board, and they announced the retirement of Steve Jack. And then I did the Port Authority meeting yesterday, and the City Commission meeting last evening, the Adult Advisory Corrections Board yesterday as well. And then with Doug, we'll be doing the JCAB meeting this afternoon.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioner Culbertson, do you have anything for the group?
Well, I attended the Kansas Association of Counties conference with the other commissioners. And, the conferences aren't always about the sessions. I think they're more about contacts and
I agree.
And,
networking.
Yeah, networking, exactly. So we were able to talk to several individuals that I think are going to be able to help us with several of our issues. The demand transfers. Mr. Courtwright gave a session. I talked to him afterwards. He was here all the way back to before reappraisal, so he's very well versed at what's going on. There other people that we met with can help us with other things like the federal pilot checks from the Fort 152 bridge, a couple other things, demand transfers. The We also went to Mid-America Regional Council and talked to them some more about what the next steps for the 152 bridge would be. I met with Representative Neely last week, talked to him about several issues, including those. And I also met with Rural Water Districts 1, 2, 5, and 12. They had a conference lately, and I think it was mentioned that they qualify for the ARPA funds. So they had some questions of how that process works. So I basically went to explain it to them. They've got several projects that they need some help with financially. So I think they're going to turn in some requests. And I kind of explained to them that it's a competition. You know, they're not only competing with other water districts, but county agencies, a lot of other agencies. You know, 200 or 300 people are probably going to be turning in requests. So, but if you don't ask, you can't get it.
That's right.
That's the thing. So that's about it.
Yeah, I have just a couple. Again, the conference and Commissioner Culbertson's absolutely right. The networking there and some of the people we spoke to that I've mentioned to Mark this morning that maybe we could sit down and have a little chat with it. Just, you know, brainstorming some things. Also after that, Commissioner Culbertson and I went to Mark's office. Thanks for letting me follow you. I would never found it again after all these years. And had a good visit with him about the bridge and things like that on Insight and some things that we're doing right and some things that we may be wanting to look at down the line. Also had the Veterans Memorial dedication out at the Lake Mirror Ken Bernard's Park. They put in some, Lions Club put some benches in there. So I was out there for that. Really good turnout. And I went to a LOUGHRY County 1 Fire District meeting. Saw about 5 or 6 new recruits come in, which I was pleased to see that. And they took the oath of office. So it was just good to see those young folks getting started. And it's been a busy but a good and productive week, I think. Anyway, is there anything else before we ask for adjournment?
Did you bring back any papers from the conference, like what they're going to be, KAAZ is going to be lobbying for this next session?
We got a ton of stuff.
Okay.
I got some of it in there. I got some at the house. I'll be bringing all mine back into
Okay.
the office.
All right.
But yeah, they were killing the trees. They was there, Doug. Anything else from anybody? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion is second. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Stieben?
Aye.
Commissioner KAAZ?
Aye.
Commissioner Culbertson?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.